I have a question. What is history based on? What is history based on? Rings, marriage, relationships, loves. And I hate to use this word, but everybody likes to fuck each other. So if you're under 13 years old and you're listening to this, or you're over 13 years old listening to this, okay, the word, look it up in the dictionary. I don't like to say the word. I think it's an ugly word, you know, but it's a word and it works. Okay, just working on a little design. And when I was working on this design, the crab or the two plugs. You see these two plugs? Two plugs into one. One will run around this area over here, and one will run around here. One is a inward spiral, the other was an outward spiral. Inward spiral means when it turns, things go this way. The outward spiral, when it turns, things go that way. So things are coming in and things are going out. And then there's an auger transferring between the two, the inward and outward spirals. And in these relationships, obviously there's confusion and everything is mixed up. And that's what they call the tumblers inside the granaries. And the knives inside are the hammers, which hammer out into the mill, into the screens. And the fleur-de-lis happens to be that. 33, the command and the creation of the Christ, and where Jesus Christ Mass is actually 74, right? Which is a relationship to 313, where you have 3 days connected to one day and 3 days, creating AC/DC in numbers. And so many other factors in the relationship of words. Christmas is 77 and 33. Jesus is 74. Time is 47. And who gives a damn? But at the end, we're screwing and integrating different systems. Somebody says to keep my eyes wide open when I talk. Wide open. So I keep them wide open. They say, don't look at the camera. So I won't look at the camera. But the reality is the confusion of time. Because according to words, Herod, when Herod was in and the time Jesus was born, there's a separation of 3 years. So even if Jesus, they say, lived for 33 years, he actually lived for 33 years after what I say is time zero. What is time zero? After the death of Christ? Or is time zero before the birth of Christ? C and E. It's also a time period. So I was always confused. So if you have the answer to that, I'd really like to know. Is the time we live the 33 years, or are we actually running 33 years behind? If we were running 33 years behind time, then the actual world that would be running in the year 2021, when ABC 123 times 47 equals to 5781, it would actually be, or 2021 in your terms, it wouldn't be 2021, it would be 1988. And it's the year my grandfather died. And 1988 to 2021 is 33 years. We are in 2018, and apparently Christ was born 3 years before a certain period of time, and that relationship is 2018, and somehow we're in that year right now. So this is the transition year of the last 3 years of creation. And remember, when a child is born, he doesn't walk, he doesn't speak. So the last 3 years, the child is actually awake and speaking, and the first 3 years, the child is being nurtured to learn how to do the things. So actually, the cycle ends in 2018, and the recalibration of the next cycle will actually start in 2021, is the way it has to be. And the way I came up with this is, first of all, has anybody ever heard of Man in His World? Man in His World was in the Expo 67, where Expo 67, Man in His World, they said Jesus was man in his world. So 33 years from 1967 to the year 2000, and then 21 years to the year 2021, which makes Jesus the year of 2012 his bar mitzvah year. 2000, 2001, right. 1967 and the year 2000 is 34 less that year it is. So the year 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 makes Jesus 13 years old. Plus the 8 to get him to the gateway, because in pool and games people play, everything is leading up, even though it's a game of odds, games of relationships, that's what happens. So in all my work and studies that I put in, and actually I fabricated and made up everything from the true source of everything that was supplied to us. If you tell me about a game, I'll say, hey, that's the game and that's what I used. People are always telling me that's not the way you play the game. Well, if that's the way to play the game, I used your way to play the game to create the reality I speak to you in the truth of, in relationships of numbers. Um, I don't know. I'm working on a new design right now. I just want to take a little break to breathe and storm from the rocks over to the sky and whoosh into the ocean. Big deal. So I'm not a painter. I didn't say I was. You know what I'm saying? Didn't say I was a painter. So we have that relationship right there. I don't know where my book is. I'm not really sure what to say from this point on. All I know is I'm sort of not happy. I feel like we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I'm staying home. I mean, I want to be able to get onto the world and to prove what I can do. I want to get out into my city and restructure my city. And then I want to be noticed how I restructure my city. And I want other cities to restructure until finally us, the people, get a hold on things. They're on strike with the ambulances right now. They're having some kind of strike with the police right now. I know some of the circumstances. I know the nurses overwork and are they underpaid? Relationship to money and things that are going on with that. And people need to understand. You know, I got a friend of mine. He works at the post office. $28 an hour. He thinks the greatest things about unions, right? But he doesn't understand the downfall of certain things, and it falls in the control and things that are being misled, and it's just not fair to everybody. Things have to be fair in a certain way to everybody, and it's not always going to be perfect, you know. And like I said, and I always like to use this term, people say that don't abuse. No, we shouldn't abuse. They have horses in horse racing and they whip them to go faster. They have abortions and people don't like it. People are against abortion. So how can you stop somebody from doing something to their own body? You don't know anything about that child. You don't know anything about the unborn child. It's my body. That's what I believe, and I'll do what I want. Thank God I'm not pregnant. But I believe that if the world and the people really understood what's going on in the world, they would take more care of a lot of things. And don't forget, you get out, you get drunk and stoned and on all kinds of drugs, and you're going to have a baby. And because of what they put in our head, to keep, not to keep, what should I do? Um, we've been, how can I say this? I'm living my reality off of what everybody else lives other than what I actually choose to do. And it's your choice in this world. And I believe that it's a tough enough world. And I believe, you know, what I believe. And I don't like to say it because I know people are going to be against me if I just get back on that subject that I once was. And you can't control the world and sex and religions. I think the Bible should be reread again. I think the Bible is full of codes, and I think half the Bible is just full of, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff in there that is telling us a story, and there's misinterpretations of a lot of the stories. Um, if you talk about Mark, you know, and you know the disciples, and he's a fisherman, right? Mark's a fisherman, and since Mark's a fisherman, 3 out of 4 fishermen lie about the size of their fish. You know what I'm saying? So that relationship there. Um, uh, the books that have been transcribed, they're still, I mean, there's some old books out there, right, like Torah, and they're still trying to interpret Torah for what it exactly means. But you know what? The reality is, if I'm not nice to you, or you're not nice to me, that's the reality. That's the reality. If we cheat on our husbands and wives, that's the reality. Why we do things. We must give others a chance. One chance, two chance, and then fuck you. But when you're in a relationship in whatever sector, not with another person, but you live in a house or you like something and oh my God, I like my teacup, and you never want to part with that teacup. Just for that reason, we get emotional. I've had that teacup all my life. Well, if you need the teacup, keep the teacup. But if you don't need the teacup, get rid of it. There was a bombing in Syria, you know. I believe half this world is used as slaves. I really do. And I think as much as the North America, as the Western worlds of China, etc., are using these people as slaves, and they keep moving around the work around the world and keeping us going bankrupt. Imagine you don't have a business, but they gave you enough credit to buy a car and a house, and now you go bankrupt. It shouldn't happen because the elite are moving people around the world using the slaves. I just want to put it that way, and saying, hey, it's cheaper somewhere else. Let's open a dollar store and we'll just import everything. So it'll be cheap for you. At least we're being fair to you. We'll charge you $300 to take a tooth out, but we'll let you go to the dollar store. We'll pay the people at the dollar store $10 an hour, but we'll let them go to the dentist for $300 a tooth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, hospitals are cheaper in Canada, right? Up to a certain point. But if you go to the dentist, you know what I'm saying? You go to the dentist, it ain't no cheaper. And there's less people going to the, or is there more people going to the dentist, right? The dentist, you got to go every year. It doesn't mean you're going into the hospital every year. Anyways, Raphael, 7286 in a constellation of Pegasus. Thank you for watching this video. Flirtily connecting between two worlds, positive and the negative, and the continuation, and the mind goes on. And the mind goes on. Think, 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 goes all the way around and back to you. You ever see a pinball? It comes out of the hole and it goes back, comes back, you get to keep playing. Well, that's the mind. Although our mind keeps going around in our head, new information, we go to sleep and new information comes into our minds every day. Chemtrails and fluorides. I need to get up there. I got to get into some sort of office. I got to stop the fluoride. I got to stop them from obligating vaccines, and we got to stop them from the chemtrails, because that's what I believe. CERN and all these other crazy things, Kinder Morgan and all this, and they're saying, well, where am I going to get a job? Don't you worry. Thank you for watching this video.